She left without looking back. But he never stopped waiting. Every single night. The night she finally gathered the courage to knock on his door, the wind howled like it had been waiting for this moment too. Her fingers trembled inches away from the wood, her breath uneven, her heart carrying years of regret, pride, and unanswered questions. She had walked away once without looking back, and now, standing there again, she feared it might already be too late. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive, and sometimes they reach the hearts that need them the most. Her name was Ariba, and life had not turned out the way she once imagined. Years ago, she had dreams stitched together with laughter, small apartments filled with sunlight, and quiet evenings spent with the man she loved. But life, as it often does, twisted those dreams into something unrecognizable. Pride became louder than love, misunderstandings grew heavier than truth, and one day she left. She left without turning back, without listening, without giving him a chance to explain. At the time, it felt like strength. It felt like choosing herself. But over the years, that decision slowly turned into a silent ache she carried everywhere. The city moved on, as cities always do. Buildings rose, seasons changed, people came and went, but Ariba felt stuck in the same moment she had walked away from him. She tried to rebuild her life, tried to convince herself that she had done the right thing. She focused on work, on survival, on becoming someone stronger. And in many ways, she did. But there were nights, quiet, unforgiving nights, when the past would creep back in. She would remember the way he used to wait for her after long days, the way he listened without judgment, the way his presence made even the hardest days feel lighter. Those memories refused to fade no matter how much time passed. She told herself he had moved on, that he had forgotten her, that he had built a better life without her chaos. It was the only way she could keep going without completely breaking. Then one evening, everything changed. She was walking home through a narrow street, her mind clouded with the usual noise of life, when she passed by a small shop she used to visit years ago. The owner recognized her instantly, his expression shifting with a mix of surprise and something else she couldn't quite place. After a brief exchange, he mentioned him, casually as if it was nothing, but to her it was everything. He told her that the man she once loved still lived in the same place, that he had never left, that he still came by occasionally, quiet and reserved, carrying the same calm presence, but with a sadness that hadn't been there before. And then came the words that shook her to her core. "He never really moved on," the shopkeeper said softly. "Some people just wait." That night, Ariba couldn't sleep. The walls of her small apartment felt tighter than ever, the silence louder than ever. Questions flooded her mind, each one heavier than the last. Had he really been waiting? Why hadn't he reached out? Or had he, and she missed it? She searched through old messages, old emails, fragments of a past she had buried, and there it was, one message she had never opened, sent the day after she left. Her hands shook as she read it. It wasn't angry, it wasn't desperate, it was simple, honest. He had asked her to come back, to talk, to give them one chance to understand each other before letting everything fall apart. She had never seen it. Or maybe she hadn't wanted to. The realization hit her like a wave she couldn't escape. All these years she thought he had let her go easily, but the truth was far more painful. He had tried to hold on, and she had been the one who walked away completely. That night turned into the longest night of her life. Regret doesn't knock gently, it crashes through everything you thought you knew about yourself. She saw her past clearly for the first time, stripped of ego and excuses. She saw her mistakes, her fear, her inability to stay when things got difficult. And for the first time in years, she cried without holding back. Days passed, but the feeling didn't fade. If anything, it grew stronger. She knew she couldn't ignore this anymore. She didn't know what she would say or what would happen, but she knew one thing. She had to see him again. Not to fix everything, not to expect anything, just to finally face the truth. And so, after years of silence, she found herself standing in front of his door. The same door, the same quiet street, the same faint light spilling through the window, But everything felt different. Time has a way of changing people, and she didn't know who he was anymore. Maybe he had changed. Maybe he had healed. Maybe he had built walls she couldn't break through. Or maybe he was still the same person she left behind. Her hand hovered near the door, her heart pounding so loudly it felt impossible to ignore. Fear whispered to her, telling her to leave, to turn around, to protect herself from whatever might come next. But something deeper pushed her forward. She knocked. The sound echoed louder than she expected, slicing through the silence of the night. For a moment, nothing happened. Just the wind, the faint rustling of leaves, the sound of her own breath. Then footsteps. Slow, measured, real. Her chest tightened as the door creaked open. And there he was. Time hadn't erased him, it had softened him. His face carried the weight of years, but his eyes were exactly the same. Calm, deep, familiar. For a moment, neither of them moved. It wasn't shock that filled the space between them, it was something heavier. Recognition, memory, everything they had been, everything they had lost, all standing there in silence. He didn't ask why she came. He didn't question her absence. He didn't show anger. He simply looked at her, as if he had been expecting this moment all along. And in that look she understood something that words could never explain. He had been waiting, not in a desperate, hopeless way, but in a quiet, patient way that only comes from truly loving someone. He had lived his life, carried on, endured the passing years, but a part of him had always remained open, always listening for a knock that might never come. Until now. The weight of that realization broke something inside her. All the walls she had built over the years collapsed in an instant. The strength she once took pride in now felt small compared to the courage it took to stand there and face him. She didn't need to say everything. Some things don't need words. Because in that moment they both understood. Life doesn't always give you perfect timing. It doesn't always give you clean endings or easy beginnings. Sometimes it gives you distance, mistakes, silence. And then, when you least expect it, it gives you one more chance. Not to erase the past, but to finally understand it. Before we reach the end, if this story is touching your heart even a little, take a moment to like, share, and comment. Your engagement helps these stories reach people who might be waiting for their own second chance. And a special request, comment below, second chances matter if you believe people can change, heal, and find their way back. Ariba stood there, no longer the person who had once walked away without looking back. She had lived, struggled, learned, and broken in ways she never imagined. And now she stood at the same door. Not as someone running away, but as someone finally ready to face what she had left behind. And for the first time in years, she didn't feel lost. Because sometimes, the hardest journeys don't take you somewhere new. They bring you back, to the place you were always meant to understand. And sometimes, all it takes is one last knock.